Coming up on Inspire, we feature an extra special episode that will wake your taste buds and provide an inside look into the world of chocolatiering and winemaking. All this coming up on the next Inspire. Inspire is sponsored by Kansas Furniture Mart, using furniture to inspire conversation, and by the Blanche Bryden Foundation. Hello, welcome to Inspire. Romance is in the air on this episode, and I'm happy to share the moment with my wonderful co-hosts, Danielle Norwood and Amber Dickinson. And today, we'll be treated to an insider's view into the process of creating and adding flavor and romance to our date nights.
And not just date nights, but even just a few moments away from the kids is all you need with your special someone to reconnect. And what better way to do it but with wine and chocolate?
Amber, wine and chocolates are definitely the key to my heart, and that's why I'm so excited to introduce our guests for our special date night edition of Inspire. Here with us to provide an insider's view into the world of chocolate and wine is Lori Henderson, owner of Crooked Post Winery, and Nick Xidis, owner of Hazel Hill Chocolate. Lori and Nick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So, Lori, I want to start with you. Tell us about how you got into winemaking.
Well, it was something that we started kind of accidentally, and it just has grown into what it is now.
It's a beautiful accident.
Yes, it's been fun. Yes.
Tell us about the process of winemaking.
Well, when you make wine, you've got to have some kind of fruit. Definitely. And we actually grow our own fruit. We're one of them that are 100% our own grapes. And all of our wine is made from the grapes that we grow. And we are totally dependent upon people, our customers, our friends, to come out and help us harvest the grapes. I think you were there at one of those days.
We loved it.
Yes, that was one of our great days. We picked the Traminette. And you start with the grapes. It has to be fresh. I am not the winemaker. My husband is. I'm the wine tester. I do not make the wine, but I do know you start with the grapes. There is a process that you add the yeast on the second day. The yeast is what eats the sugar from the grapes and turns it into alcohol. And then there's several months worth of taking the juice out of one tank and putting it into a clean tank, and finally getting it very clear. Sometimes there's sugar added, sometimes it goes completely dry with no sugar left, and then there's a bottling process. So it can go anywhere from 6 months to a year. Wow. Yeah, and we don't force anything. When we make our wine, we don't use any chemicals. It's just what nature does. So ours takes a little bit longer.
Nature has done a wonderful job.
Yes.
So I am notorious for picking a wine based on what label I think is pretty. So I have a feeling that's not the best way to do that. So what advice do you have for someone who's looking to try wine, maybe for the first time, or to expand their wine knowledge or different tastings? How do you suggest that someone go about finding new wine?
Well, when they come to our place, the first thing I have to teach is that we have wine that they're not used to in a liquor store. Most people that come in have had a little bit of wine. Mm-hmm. So I'll ask them, okay, what did your label say? Do you remember what kind you drank? And then I'm able to say, okay, that is like one of ours. So if they drink a Riesling, I'll tell them, let's try this Traminette. Or do you like a little bit of sweet? Do you drink a lot of beer? So a lot of times people that drink a lot of beer like a sweeter wine. Mm-hmm. And then I'll kind of start in the middle and then say, would you like to go a little drier? Would you like to go a little sweeter? And then they kind of find a wine.
I love it. And you do have beer there at Crooked Post Winery
yes, we do.
As well,
yep.
So that's good.
We offer beer.
And we have so much more to ask you. I want to bring Nick in though too, because Lori and Kevin grow locally. Mm-hmm. You source chocolate around the world.
We do. We buy cacao from Asia, Africa, Central and South America. So anywhere in the globe it's grown, we're looking for it.
Gosh, how do you go about finding it though? How do you know? To explain the process.
There is a wholesale market for cacao, and we go into that market. We will buy small quantities of lots of them, and we can tell a little bit by the genetics of the plant what it's going to end up tasting like, and then we make a lot of little batches of chocolate, working out what the flavor in the bean is, and also the kind of the roasting and recipe parameters on our end. So think 3 to 6 months to go from sourcing until we've got something that's ready to put on the shelf.
What inspired you to become a chocolatier? Because that seems like the best job on the planet to me.
So I actually have 3 jobs.
Okay.
So chocolatier is somebody who takes chocolate and makes truffles or things from it. Mm-hmm. We also do confectionery, which is caramel and sugar and those kind of things. And then we're a chocolate maker. So we buy cocoa beans, and we turn them into chocolate.
Interesting.
The candy man.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm curious.
When Willy Wonka grows up, he wants to be a man.
Yeah. So I would really like to know what your favorites are of the products that you sell. Like, what can you not stay away from for yourself?
Well, my favorite's not on the shelf anymore because
You
I
drank
drank it all. We made a dry traminette. It's gone.
Wow.
And we might not make it this year because it didn't taste the same. The traminette came in this year and didn't taste the same. It's all changes. It's all weather dependent.
Interesting.
And that is one of the things when we harvested out at your place, Kevin was saying, you know, this might not be the best this year. And I love it that he's that picky, because if it's not going to pass the muster, so to speak, it's not going to happen. But then I didn't give you a chance to say what your favorite was
That's
of
okay.
chocolate.
So I've been eating a lot of 2 of them. The first one is Semaluki Forest chocolate from Uganda, which has a really nice cocoa flavor, but also kind of some milky, soft notes to it, even though it's a 72% cacao. And then the other one I've been eating a lot of is we made a blend. So we bought some cacao in Madagascar and some in West Africa and Ghana. And they are very different flavors, but we blended those 2 together. And in chocolate making, that's a bit of an avant-garde thing to mix origins like that. Is a bit of a bold thing to do. So
Have you had the opportunity to travel to these places where you're getting this from?
I wish I got to go to all of them.
And meet the growers, because that's so important. But we get to meet our
Yep.
growers here, but meeting those growers as well, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
we had hoped, actually, we had a trip to Colombia scheduled right before COVID hit, and then it's all the brakes have been put on all that stuff.
I gotta tell you, when you were out there, you were having fun picking. But when you get out there, Lori, like, you know, your customers, everybody's coming out there and making sure they get everything exactly right. Will you kind of explain the process of what you have volunteers do?
They actually pick the grapes. So Kevin and I spend months getting ready. So we're cleaning off everything underneath. We're getting rid of poison ivy. We're getting rid of wasp nest. We're hedging back all the excess growth. We don't want anybody to be uncomfortable. And all they have to do is just stand and clip and drop them into the buckets. And then we have people that come by and pick them up. For 8 years now, our harvesters understand that that's our business, and there's no messing around. They are picking and getting it done and getting inside. We actually picked 3 tons of Saval this year in an hour.
Wow.
They beat my
Oh
lunch
my
people.
goodness.
We were done at 9 o'clock, and I didn't know what to do with them because we weren't
Well,
ready.
and speaking of lunch, you provide a farmhouse lunch,
Oh,
and
it
this
was
is an
amazing.
experience. The whole family. Yeah.
Yes. And free sangria. We enjoyed that too.
That was awesome. And Nick, I've seen you down there mixing, pouring, you know. What's your favorite thing to do with liquid chocolate?
Well, so yeah, it's about a week to make a cocoa bean turn into chocolate, and
Well, what's that process? It takes a week.
so when we bring in the dry cacao, we first roast it, and then they have like skin on them like a peanut. We have to shell them, and then they'll spend several days in a stone wheel grinding machine, and then from there there's a tempering process that makes the chocolate turn out right. Wow. And then we mold it into bars and wrap them. Most of my time is spent really in the refining piece of that, and my son Daniel does a lot of the roasting these days.
That's amazing.
Have we whetted your appetite? I mean, look at this stuff that we're going to show you. We're going to a short break, but we'll be right back with Lori and Nick to continue our discussion and maybe some sampling. Stay with us. To say that Kay McCormick is a fan of Steve McQueen might be putting it lightly. So Kay, you have the bullet.
Yes, I do. I have a 2008 bullet. They made about 7,300 of them. Ours is number 5903.
And what is it about this particular car that intrigued you so much?
I love Steve McQueen. I like the movie. It's not really good, but it's a great car chase. In 2001, they came out with an edition, and I couldn't get one. When they came out in 2008, I told my husband, Terry, I said, I want a bullet. Took me a year, but I got one.
Tell us about some of the details. I mean, you actually have Steve in the seat.
Yes, I do. It's a regular Mustang GT, but they have upped the horsepower for that year. It has a special roll bar. It has special suspension. The exhaust, they made it to sound a lot more like the original car, but we've upped that too because we didn't think it sounded good enough. So we've increased that. So when we start this car in the morning, the neighbors know. We found the police ID from the movie. We found the shirt from the movie. We had to get these from England, believe it or not. And we still look for bullet stuff, but it's kind of hard to find anymore.
Thank you for coming to Women on Wheels.
With Lori Henderson and Nick Xidis. Ladies, on our last segment, we were discussing their favorites, and now we get to figure out what our favorite is.
I'm so excited to get to taste them. This is going to be amazing. And now this first one, we're going to be on the left. This is the one you were talking about that is your absolute favorite, and it's from Uganda. Comes in this cool packaging. Will you tell us how to pronounce this?
Semaluki Forest. It is
Forest.
named after a nature preserve in Uganda where this cacao was grown.
I love it. And you have paired it with, because you've tasted Lori's wine from Crooked Post Winery.
So we've paired it with the cherry.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
It's so good.
Okay. So and then take a sip of the cherry.
Okay.
All right.
But we don't have to aerate this, as you told me.
No, we
off
do not.
Camera.
That's delicious.
Oh, it's so good.
That
Oh,
is
they-
very good. Yeah.
They really bring each other out, and that's the whole thing about pairing. But Lori, you were mentioning that everybody's palate's different. So what works for one may not for another.
There's general rules of what kind of food goes with what kind of wine, but really it's all on our own taste buds. So, but this does pair. This is kind of a milky chocolate, and we found that the cherry wine's pairing with like a milk chocolate, like a kiss, but this is pretty close. So it does it, because you don't want to down the flavor. You want to taste the wine and the chocolate, which we are. So they complemented each other. Good choice.
Yes, which we are. let's have a toast to that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Salute.
I want to know how much time it took you to figure out what pairs with what. Did you spend hours like, let me try this chocolate and this one and this chocolate and this one? Because
So
I could.
should we lie and say that's true?
It's called Google.
But you did taste her wines. I mean, you've been out there, because how many varieties do you guys have now, Lori?
16, 18, something
Wow.
like that. Yeah.
But you started with like, what, 6 or something like that?
Yeah, we started with 6. Yeah.
So it's just grown and grown,
Yep.
and then you have adjusted your planting of grapes and what type of grapes.
Yeah, we have 11 different varieties that we grow. 12 now. We planted a brand new one called Cora Noir that's going to make another dry red.
Was this just a dream that you all had to do this? Like, I'm really curious about that. I'm always so fascinated with how people
It's
get
not mine.
to
I don't know about Nick. Was it a dream of yours? Ours was just an accident.
Well, they both had other regular jobs, and then when they retired, and now they're busier than ever with
Yeah.
Crooked Post Winery.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Busier than ever.
That
Yeah.
dream, was this a dream?
A little bit. It was actually my grandfather's trade when he immigrated to the U.S. from Greece.
Oh, that's nice.
So when he landed here, that was one of the trades the Greek community could teach you was candy making.
Really?
Yeah.
So then you grew up in this,
Yes.
And how old were you when you started? Like
Little
like
squirt.
little boy?
Yeah.
And unlike some people who don't want to be in the family business, obviously this became a passion.
Well, again, I had a different career, and when it allowed, my wife Terry and I were able to do this as a second career. So
I think that most children would agree that growing up, learning how to make chocolate is magical.
when your grandpa owns a candy store, you've scored life's lottery.
Yeah. And have a bunch of friends, you know.
Yes.
And what now can we put chocolate on? You know.
So I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
Does this amazing, beautiful product make it difficult for you to eat candy like that you would buy in the grocery store?
Oh no.
Really? You can't eat an M&M and compare that with what you do.
You just got to look at me to know I'm well fed. Okay. Right? Of course you can. And look, an M&M has a place, right? When you want a sweet treat, and that's the right thing to have. What you're eating tonight is a much more expensive product, and there's a range of flavors that are just not available, and there's a time and a place for that. And I mean, you were trying to talk about it a little bit, but the thoughtfulness of putting together a wine and a chocolate and an experience, I think somebody special would enjoy not just the things, but the thought that went into putting it together.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Maybe like a chocolate charcuterie plate. in a
There you
sense.
go. There you go.
Where you can put like different varieties of chocolates and different wines and
Different wines
sit
out,
and
yeah.
sample and have that be a romantic
Yeah.
thought.
And the more you talked and the more you drank and the more you ate, the better acquainted you are.
And the better everybody looks.
Or even for maybe couples that aren't able to get out for a date, like just bringing these beautiful chocolates and this beautiful wine home, and then sort of creating that space in your own house that's just a little more special than your day-to-day everything you're doing is really. I mean that. Because not everyone can get a babysitter, or not everyone wants to go out right now, or still feeling a little uncomfortable sometimes going places. But what a special way to make something happen that's beautiful in your home, that's different from the norm.
Yes,
It's your
not your
experience.
typical roses.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that we're all doing together.
Yeah, especially if you think about, I know that my husband likes this kind of flavor. What do you suggest for this? I mean, what a thoughtful way to bring something home special to your partner.
And we go ahead.
I was going to say, to pair with Nick's, this is a more special chocolate.
Yeah.
The other one I brought was
That was just
a
what I was gonna
dessert
say. We gotta
style
get on
or
that.
a port, but you can't call it port anymore because it didn't come from Portugal. So it's a dessert wine. But that is something you can go to the liquor store, and then a lot of the wineries in the Midwest also make a dessert style, and some are old enough that they actually call theirs port, but they're usually more expensive. They have a higher alcohol content, so they're going to match the next really nice chocolate.
Okay, great.
So
Tell us about the chocolate that we're about to eat.
So the second one is called La Chua. It's named for a lake in Guatemala, which is the area that the cacao came from. This one, we deliberately made the full flavors a little bit bolder. So you're going to taste fruit, you're going to taste a little bit of bitterness and acidity that you didn't in the other one. Even though this has less cacao in it, the flavors are going to be quite a bit bolder and stronger. And so it's going to stand up to a port or something like that, a much better than that really mellow chocolate is going to go with a wine that has this much character to it.
I want to quickly say before we move on to this wine that absolutely tasted like biting into a cherry.
it did.
Yes,
it
it
really did.
Gorgeous. I loved that.
So that we tell everybody it's like a cherry pie.
It's
it
amazing.
truly
It's
is like a
beautiful.
cherry
And
pie.
it was just like,
Yeah.
you know, like a cherry cordial, like Christmas time, everybody gets those. So that was really,
Yeah.
that was really unique.
Yeah.
Now I know you guys always grew grapes for other wineries.
Right.
And so then you decided, hey, we're going to do this ourselves.
Yes, we originally were doing business with Smoky Hill out in Salina.
Yes, my people. Go
Yes,
ahead.
and that original family then quit the business and sold it. We grew in huge blocks. We have 600 at a time, and we found back then that there was no winery within our mileage of where we were needing to transport that could take all of them at a time. Smoky Hill was then a commercial winery, so we had to split it up to several different wineries. And after a couple years of that, we just said, you know, we're just going to do this ourselves. So we picked up that piece of ground where the winery is, and then sat on it for a couple years, and then built the building. So
They built their own building, which I think is
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really
we did all
nice
the
place.
inside. The outside we had done, but we did everything inside.
I just took a bite of this and had a drink of this, and it made me wiggle out of excitement.
This is made from the Noire grape that we grow. The Noire is a little smoky, a little peppery, slightly tanned, and it makes a really good port style wine. So how
This
does it pair
chocolate
with the
has
chocolate?
quite a bit of aroma too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah,
solid
it pairs
object.
well.
Okay.
It's like, wow.
Well, as we continue imbibing and enjoying the chocolate and the wine, we are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Lori and Nick, so stay with us.
I tell you, Bessie is just fantastic. I cannot believe the finish on this car.
The finish is a tricolor pearl paint, and it's custom.
You know, let's talk about this interior though. For the first time, and you made it look this good?
I did. I've not done interior work before, so it was my first attempt. So I have the steering wheel that's pink. Our car club painted it, metal flake. And there's a diamond in the middle of the steering wheel that belonged to my mother. When we first got my car, she got ovarian cancer. And it took us 5 years, but she didn't make it to ride in it. But she gave me the diamond and said, put it in your car and I'll be with you. So that's my favorite part of the whole car. The engine is a 302 and it's got a C4 tranny. My husband does all the mechanical parts, so it runs very good, and he did all of the customizing of the body. That was all his ideas, and our car club helped us put it together.
What would you say to women to encourage them to be in a car club and be women on wheels?
It's really, really fun. You meet a lot of car people are great people. They are so fun, and everybody has a story. And you can just spend all day at a car show talking with people. It's great.
We're back with Lori Henderson from Crooked Post Winery and Nick Xidis from Hazel Hill Chocolate. And we're talking date night. I'm going to depart just a little bit because we found out something creepily fun. That would be a perfect date, you know, maybe more so around the Halloween time, but any time that a man wants, or the woman wants the other person to be just a little scared, they could come to either of the places that you guys are going to talk about. What about Hazel Hill, that building?
So our building is haunted. We have a ghost, and we think we know who she is through some old records that we found as we demolished some of the older parts of the building. Her name is Daisy, and her family actually owned that building when it was a restaurant, and she ran the restaurant there. And from time to time we hear her in her heels walking around, and she definitely is going somewhere.
Is Daisy a friendly ghost?
She is.
Oh.
She is. And my wife put her name in the family search website, and again, we found out that we are related to Daisy.
That is unreal.
I mean, that's kismet. That in itself is kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's fun.
But fun. She's probably
That's a good thing.
thrilled because you've got dessert now at her family restaurant.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know? And then you've got something going on with the Hotel Josephine.
Well, ironically, when Nick was talking about this, I said, well, our wine is up at Hotel Josephine now, and they are becoming worldwide with their ghost tours and staying overnight. So I'm going to have to call Sarah Fox up there and tell her to get a hold of Nick. And they might have a little ghost trail or something going on.
But really, what a fun night. What a fun evening to go to all of these places and experience all of these things. I love that.
So, okay, now for a regular date night, though, what?
You seem so down about for a regular date night. And have a ghost as a part of it. But, you know, if you just wanted to kick it with the man or the woman, what would you do?
Okay, so our son is 6, and so we don't go out that often just because, you know, we just don't. Because we're too tired. But one thing that we like to do is we like to find a radio program, and we turn it on and we sit down and we have food and we listen to the radio program, and sometimes I will color and we'll listen, and sometimes my husband will, you know, kind of fiddle with things that he likes to fiddle with, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. And it's such a nice way for us to sort of pause the world around us a bit. We haven't done it in a long time, so now I think I need to go home and do this.
And you can enjoy wine and chocolate while you're listening to the radio.
And so I think, you know, sometimes we think about date night and we think it has to be this huge sort of spectacle or this, and I don't think that that's it at all. I think it's just about pausing your daily routine of, okay, we gotta sweep and we gotta do the dishes and just saying, let's take ourselves out of that and just do something that is just a shared space for us. And so we tend to have simple date nights right now. One day my dream is that we'll go to Italy and have a big date night in Italy.
What about you, Danielle?
I like regressive dinners. Now, are you familiar with progressive dinners?
I know progressive.
Okay, so regressive starts with dessert and works back to appetizers. And so we go to our favorite places, like for dessert, and then we go to have the entree, and then the salad, and then the app course, and then we can end, you know, having something like this for like another extra dessert at home. But I like getting out. I like exploring Kansas, and what better way to do that than on a date night when you don't really have an agenda, and you can just hang out with each other and enjoy different things. So,
well, this was wonderful, but that's all the time we have for today. So Lori and Nick provided some fabulous ideas to spice up your next date night. As a reminder, you can watch this program again at watch.ktwu.org.
and if you're inspired to learn more about our guests and find out what's coming up on future shows, be sure to visit our website at ktwu.org/inspire.
Inspiring women, inspiring you, and inspiring romance on KTWU. Thank you for watching. Inspire is sponsored by Kansas Furniture Mart, using furniture to inspire conversation. And by the Blanche Bryden Foundation.